Want help to grow your business? Download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to another episode of How I Doubled. My name is Pete Quist and this is the show where we take a look at businesses that have doubled their turnover within the last 2 years. We find the 5 biggest factors that have contributed to their success. We break them down, then hopefully you can implement some of them into your business as well. We'll keep the feedback coming for How I Doubled via social media using the hashtag HowIDoubled. One of the bits of feedback we've been getting is it's great to see businesses that are startups or relatively young businesses, but what about businesses that are well established, that have been around for a long time and decided to kick it into another gear? Well, ask and ye shall receive. I want to introduce you today to Belinda Marsh from Fancy That Costumes in Sydney, Australia. Now, this business was first opened in 1987 and Belinda took it over as the new owner in 2011 and has kicked the business into a big gear, turning over now close to $500,000, doubling her turnover within the last 2 years. So please welcome from Fancy That Costumes, Belinda Marsh. Belinda, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on board. Fancy That Costumes though, I mean, it's all in the name, but what do you do?
We are a business that encourages people to play more, Pete.
Okay, what does that mean?
Okay, so we encourage people to play more by running I'm going to elevator pitch you now, by running the best quality, best organised costume emporium in Sydney with the best and friendliest service, primarily catering to adults as well. Shocked my mother out of her socks when I rang her a few years ago and said, "Mum, I've bought an adults-only business, adults-only costume business. Yeah, registered the company name, Playtime Unlimited, adults only." She nearly disowned me, but not that kind of play, above board play, but definitely, helping people to relax and release the stress and the pressure of adulting, which is pretty high these days.
Because costume shops have been around for a long time and there's many around. When you say costumes though, what specifically do you do? Do you sell? Do you hire? A bit of both? How does the business model work?
Okay, so when I purchased the business, it was almost like 99.9% hire. We're still, the bread and butter of our business is still costume hire. And it's interesting, you said there's costume hire businesses everywhere. The industry is changing a lot. A lot of costume hire businesses are going out of business. And it's interesting to see that happen. And, a few of my friends and colleagues sort of looked at me, a bit awry when I announced that I was doing this. But there really is a niche and an opportunity to offer something different to the market in costume hire. So back to your question, we primarily hire costumes, but we also sell accessories, and I'm starting to move into more costume sales as well. But the core bread and butter of our business is costume hire.
And you have a physical shop front?
We do, yeah. We have one physical premise in Crow's Nest in Sydney, which is just over the bridge on the north side, just next to North Sydney. A really good demographic for my sort of business. It's high density residential, becoming higher. A lot of venues or physical premises are being knocked down for high rise. So it's going to become even more customers, which is great, and also a high density commercial environment. And a lot of those commercial premises are creative businesses as well, just up the road from Fox Studios, from Channel 9, from SBS television.
So television networks.
Television networks that don't have their own wardrobe departments anymore. Everything's being outsourced. And downsized, so very useful for us. Production companies, video companies, ad agencies, that sort of thing.
So it's a very important location in that perspective. Do you also have an online arm to your business?
We do. We have an online arm to our business. What's really interesting to me and what's very exciting to me in terms of, okay, we've doubled, but where's next? Less than 5% of my turnover currently is online. People will ring me and say, "I've seen this on your website. Do you have it in stock?" And I'm like, "Yep. That's why it's on the website. We can send it to you." "Oh, no, I'd like to come in," So the opportunity for me to expand the reach of my business is huge, and to leverage more online is huge as well.
So this is why your story is so interesting as well, because this is a very well-established business. We're talking 1987 when it was first opened.
Yep.
You took over in 2011,
yep.
So 4 years ago, and you've been able to double turnover within the last 2 years. Yeah. A lot of people are kind of out there with businesses, they might be a little bit stuck and they're looking for that thing to spark them to change gears.
Yeah.
What was it for you that was that spark?
Look, I don't want to downplay what my team and I have achieved in the last 4 years, but when I looked at purchasing this business, what I first and foremost saw was an unpolished diamond, and I'll give you a couple of ideas. Fancy dress, right? The primary colours of the building were brown and khaki. There was no logo to speak of. There was like a handwritten script for a logo, and it was different depending on where you looked. The costumes weren't individually pictured online. It was the case that you see with a lot of other hire businesses these days. They'll have a few pictures, and if you contact them, they'll say, yeah, come on in, we've got loads, which doesn't really help if you haven't got the one thing that I want, so you couldn't easily search online to find what you were looking for. The business owner at the time, look, she had more talent in her little finger than I will ever have in terms of garment construction and creating these beautiful, handmade, satin sumptuous corsets and saloon girls and Napoleon outfits. And, I can't so to say, I can barely thread a needle. If a button falls off, I call one of my girls. I don't want to bleed on the costumes,
Okay, so how the heck did you get started in costumes then? How did that happen?
Okay. Geez, how long is this interview? It's a really cool story. I'll try and condense it really, really tightly for you. Total serendipity. I decided about 4 to 6 months before I bought the business, right, that I wanted to get into a business that encouraged adults to play more. That's all I knew. I wanted to get into a business that encouraged adults to play more. I had been in corporate for about 20 years, and I had reached a level in my career where I'd realised that I really sucked at the political game. I really sucked at it. I'd got fired twice from 2 different managers in 2 different organisations. I won't say I wasn't entirely blameless in those situations, but it really made me step back and say, you know what, I'm not suited to this. And looking around, a lot of other people aren't suited to corporate either. In fact, I fundamentally believe that the way corporates are set up, a lot of times it's the psychopaths that rise to the top. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people watching this segment is thinking, yeah, that's kind of, I know a few people like that. They're not often humane and human environments that allow people to flourish being themselves, using the sort of language they're comfortable using, dressing the way they want to dress, being motivated and inspired in the way that they want to be motivated and inspired when they're spending the majority of their waking lives in this environment. So I really wanted to get out there and be part of helping people to be more authentically themselves. And I find that the massive irony is that when you do dress up, you break down the barriers. The person that cleans the toilets and the person that runs the company will talk to each other at the Christmas party. It's, you become more authentically yourself and you better relate to others. But look, there's a whole backstory there that involves the guy that owns the store that's below my current business crashing his car around the corner from my house in the middle of the night. It also involves some family history where my grandfather who passed away was related to someone that I bought the business for. Look, there's a whole load of serendipities. I just think it was meant to be. I decided I wanted to encourage adults to play more, and this business found me.
And your due diligence, how long did that go on for?
About 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What did that consist of? For someone that might be looking to purchase a business, like you were that unpolished diamond,
yeah.
What was it that you were looking for specifically when you did your due diligence?
Well, I mean, I was looking for an unpolished diamond for starters. I was looking for a business that I could make a difference to. Looking at the books when I bought the business, it didn't look like an attractive proposition. It really didn't look like it. But I could see what the potential was, and I had some really clear ideas about how to polish it up so that it would become the sort of business that was worthy of my attention and my blood and my sweat.
Okay, so those people at home that are keeping score, our first point, our first factor that contributed to your success is know your why.
Yes.
And you've already touched on that with a bit of the corporate background, but I guess know your why. The question is, why know your why?
Okay. When you're running a small business, it's a hard slog. You've got to have a bigger reason than just, I want a nice holiday next year, or I want to pay off the mortgage, that there's got to be a bigger, more intrinsic reason. When I found my why, I searched for a long time to find my why, right? I felt like I was a bottle of Coke that someone had shaken, and I just needed to figure out how to take the lid off, because I knew that when I could take the lid off, I would explode. There was just so much inside that needed a vehicle to get out, right? So I literally Googled what the F am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I don't know whether this company had put that into their search engine marketing. Maybe they did. It was very clever. Anyway, this business came up, right? It was called The Perfect Business Finder. There's a guy in the States who's a serial entrepreneur, Steve. I can't even remember his surname, but if you Google Perfect Business Finder, you'll find this business. And the business encourages people to take them through a process. And I paid $70 to download a workbook, right? And the workbook helps you find your why. And then the back end of his business was, right, we've got coaches and people that can help you implement it. So I didn't do that side. I came, fortunately, to Business Blueprint. Super happy that I did that. But this formula turned out to be so simple and so basic, as all the best formulas are, right? So here's the golden.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download Bryn, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit bryn.ai or search the App Store today.